People talk about writer's block dismissively and they say, oh, there's no such thing as bricklayer's block. But maybe there would be if the bricklayer had to figure out how to mix all the right components to create a brick. They had to build a kiln to bake the brick. They had to then figure out the best way to lay the bricks. They had to invent the mortar to hold them together. Good morning, good evening, good afternoon. Julie here from the StoryADay Podcast. And today I'm going to talk to you a little bit about some things I've learned over the years and the importance of doing all this stuff in community. When I started out writing, and I don't know if you feel the same, I think most people do because I see this in forums everywhere. You feel like there's some inherent talent that you have to have and that everybody else seems to know how to do this writing thing and just get it right. And that there's some magical one path to success or one path to publication. And all you need to do, one path to revision, one path to writing short stories. And all you need to do is unlock that magical gate to that magical path, and you'll be good. So we toil away individually at our writing because that's how it worked for us when we were at school. You did your homework alone. Nobody was allowed to look at anyone else's papers. It's very different. It was very different for my kids going through school. They were always on group projects, which carry their own challenges. But I think they learned what I didn't learn, which is that achievement in almost any realm is not an individual game. And with writers and perhaps other artists as well, it can take us a little longer to realize that. We do write generally alone, though some of us will collaborate on drafts and stories. But usually it's a mark of maturity in a writer, I think. And I've noticed it's a mark of maturity in a writer when they start to reach out, when they start to hang out with other writers and say, so I have this idea for a story, and not be afraid to bounce the ideas around with other writers. It's something that we do in the StoryADay Superstars group a lot. There's a whole meeting just for that. But when we're starting out, we think we have to do it all ourselves. We're insecure about sharing anything, and we're insecure about admitting that we're not able to do this just through sheer force of will. So you're a smart person. You know what I'm about to say. The thing that I have learned over the past 12 years of running StoryADay is that we don't do this alone. We do it in community with other writers. We do it in community with readers. We do it in community with people in the publishing industry, if that's the road we're going down. But we don't have to do any of this alone. Even the drafting, you can find a partner to help you write if you find it more fun that way. The people who write the books that the TV show The Expanse are based on, they go by one single writer name, but there's actually two of them. And they actually draft their stories. They brainstorm ideas together. They draft their stories in a way where one writes the scenes from certain characters' points of view and one writes the scenes from other characters' points of view. So if that doesn't appeal to you and you still love being alone in your room with your stories, which I do, you still don't have to do it alone. You can find writers' groups. You can join writing forums or joining the Superstars group, which is our fabulous year-round membership group, support group, social hub. It's really evolved from where it started. When we first started the Superstars group, it was just my way to try and encourage people who showed up for StoryADay May and then disappeared for a year and came back and said, oh man, I didn't write as much as I thought I was going to in the last year since I saw you. I started the Superstars group as a monthly hangout and writing sprint back in 2018 in order to give people a container where they could just show up and be a writer and stay honest and stay in integrity with themselves as writers. And so we did that a few times. And then I said, would you like some more structured content? So we did some workshops, and then we did some more hangouts. And then when the pandemic hit, I just started doing daily writing sprints to give people somewhere to be. And we did that 90 minutes, I think twice a day at the beginning. And then eventually people started volunteering to run sprints. So now we have these almost daily. There's a place where you can come and spend an hour or whatever part of an hour that you can manage with a group of other people who are just quietly working and writing. And there are opportunities in those writing dates we take little breaks, and you can ask a question. I've got this story and it's not quite working, and I'm trying to do this. Or you can simply tell us something interesting that you've discovered, or you can let us know how it's going, or you can sit quietly and just listen to other people talk. And it's just somewhere that you can be as a writer. And in addition to that, we have a special event every month, which is either a critique group or a workshop or a challenge. Like at the moment, as I record this, we're doing one story September, where I encourage people to work on the same story all month, and I'm giving them instruction every day during the month. That's optional. The thing is, if you've been looking for a writing group, but you haven't quite found the right flavour yet, I'm going to invite you to come and take a look at the Superstars group. And the link is in the show notes, but you can also go to members.storyaday.org/join-superstars. So I want to encourage you, if you're looking for somewhere that supports your goals as a writer, not somewhere where I'm going to force you to go through a curriculum of my choosing, and you have to write these things and you have to focus on this topic and you have to work on your character development, even though you're pretty good at character development, but that's what my curriculum says you have to do this month. No, Superstars is a place where there is a bunch of resources in the sort of archive, the library, where you can go and look at our 90-minute workshops, and you can look at a particular craft skill, and you can go and take that workshop by yourself when you need it. We also have live events that we do one live event that we do every month. But we also have these hangouts twice a month where you can just come and hang out with other writers. There's no agenda there. You don't have to have a question to come to one of those. But if you do have a question about writing, we'll crowdsource an answer for you. We'll discuss. We'll go into things. Sometimes those hangouts are just us being writers in a room together, talking about whatever's on our minds, but looking at the world in a way that writers look at the world. It's not like going to a party with people you have nothing in common with. When you show up at one of the Superstars hangouts, you are in a room with people who are endlessly curious, and no matter what topic comes up, we go off on interesting tangents. And sometimes somebody has a question that is directly related to writing, and we crowdsource, use the genius in the room to come up with solutions, answers, options for you. We also have these daily writing sprints, which are hosted by me and members of the community, where you can just turn up and write. So the point of Superstars, at the beginning, it was to keep people accountable and to make sure they were writing and to make sure they were showing up for themselves as writers throughout the year. And it has remained that, but it's evolved into a community where we have all these opportunities to do writing, which supports you in whatever your writing goals are. The StoryADay Challenge is built around short stories, really flash fiction, because if you're writing a story every day, you're going to be writing flash fiction. But a lot of people in the StoryADay community, in the Superstars community, are working on totally different projects. They're working on novels, they're working on memoirs, they're working on poetry. And they show up because it's just so valuable to them to have a place where they can come and be a writer. When you tell people in your life that you're a writer, what's the first question they ask you? Ooh, have you written anything I would have read? Ooh, have you been published? Ooh, when are you going to be on the New York bestsellers list, right? New York Times bestseller list. These are normal, supportive, uninformed questions from people who don't mean any harm, but they can feel judgy, especially because writers, we have such high standards for ourselves. We have such doubt about what we're doing because what we're doing has never been done before. Yes, people have written novels before, but nobody has ever written the novel that you're trying to write before. There is no real roadmap for that. So there's massive room for insecurity there. And one of the things that we do in the Superstars group is just acknowledge that and go, yeah, that's it. This is hard. What we're doing is hard. And well done you for showing up. Well done you for keeping at it. It's a place for you to be with people who get it, who understand what it's like to be trying to pursue a writing life, to be trying to wear the identity of writer, which is something you know you should be wearing. And it's not something that the rest of the world really gets. It's not a pursuit that gets a lot of respect. It does, it gets a lot of respect, but it doesn't get a lot of understanding. And it certainly doesn't get a lot of people knocking down your door trying to pay you for it. And our culture tends to value well-paid gigs much more than it values just hard gigs. Think about it. If we valued hard gigs with hard currency, teachers, nurses, and garbage men would get the highest of paychecks. And people who move money around on spreadsheets, maybe not so much. There's some skill there. I'm not dissing accountants and investment people. I'm really not. But I'm not entirely sure they deserve to get paid as much more as a garbage man or a writer. What happens when people are stressed? They turn to art, they turn to entertainment, they turn on their television. They want to be taken away from all this. And this is what we're trying to do. But what we're trying to do is hard because we are inventing everything all the time. There is no formula. I have my short story framework, which shows you one short story structure that makes sense to our Western brains, but there's no map. People talk about writer's block dismissively and they say, oh, there's no such thing as bricklayer's block. But maybe there would be if the bricklayer had to figure out how to mix all the right components to create a brick. They had to build a kiln to bake the brick. They had to then figure out the best way to lay the bricks. They had to invent the mortar to hold them together. And then they had to figure out how to get all the pipes and the plumbing and all that kind of stuff in as well. No, bricklayers know exactly what they have to do when they get to work every day. The actual bricklaying part is straightforward. What we're trying to do, the writing, isn't straightforward. The words exist, the structure of paragraphs exist, but how to put all that together and create compelling characters and create tension and keep a reader interested and battle our own demons about, or am I being original enough? And all of that stuff is hard. So if you're struggling to be consistent in your writing, consider the fact that what you're trying to do is very hard. And I, even though I am an introvert and I do need my downtime, really value having a place where I can show up and be with other people who get it. If you don't have a place like that, if you're looking, do consider coming over and joining us in the Superstars group. Try us out for 6 months. See if you like it. See if you like having somewhere to show up week after week, month after month, reminding you that this is important to you and that this is okay and that yes, you are a writer. Through the different seasons, through the different cycles of your life, having that 6-month container to see how your creative energy ebbs and flows, cycles up and cycles down, and how if you stick with it, you somehow magically come out at the end of it with lots of words and some completed stories. It's amazing what happens when you actually turn up. And I know that sounds stupid to say, but it's true. And if you give yourself that 6-month container to hang out with us, you might find that you will learn some stuff about yourself as a writer. And at the end of that time, if you want to renew, you can, and you don't have to. Anyway, that's what I wanted to talk to you about today, about how writing alone is a thing you can do, but being a writer is so much harder if you try and do it as a solitary pursuit. Think about joining us in the Superstars group and get the rest of this year on track. Don't wait until January the 1st. And then in the depths of winter, if you're in the Northern Hemisphere, or in the midst of the summer holidays, if you're in the Southern Hemisphere, all of a sudden, January 1st, all that pressure. I'm going to do it this year. This year is going to be the year that I do it. No. Join us now. Ramp up. Get your writing practice on track so that when the year rolls around, you just are continuing. You're just improving. You're just building on the foundation that you've put in place now. This is a really great time of year to actually start new things. That's why I'm opening up the Superstars group again. So if you're interested, come over to storyaday.org/superstars and it'll take you to a page that tells you all about Superstars. If you have any questions, you can contact me. I'm not hard to find. And yeah, I hope you'll think about joining us. But if you don't join Superstars, I hope you think about at least engaging with other writers. Engage with the writers who've come before you by reading their books. Think about how you're going to engage readers in your work by creating compelling characters and tension, all those kinds of things. There's a lot to this business of being a writer, and you don't have to do it alone. Keep writing and have a great creative week.